Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I know it's been a minute. Today, I'm teaching you guys how to create a cutout triangle wire bra. Yay! So just want to go down the list of materials. You're going to need a measuring tape, your scissors, of course, a strapping tape, and a cutting pliers. Make sure it's sharpened, not rusty. I've already went ahead and cut out my wires for today's bra, which will be a 34 B cup or just a small B cup. If you need to know how to get to this point where the bra is already assembled, you can check in my description. I have listed the triangle wire bra tutorial. So today we're going to use 14 gauge wire instead of 12 gauge. I think it's just a lot more pliable and easier to use. And basically here now, what I'm showing you is how I'm going to add, or where I'm going to add, the attachment to create the cutout effect on the wire bra. Okay, so here I'm just gonna open the Procreate app. This is an app that I use to design costumes or to just get any type of inspiration or designs out of my head and put it onto paper. So when I actually get into physically creating it, I have some sort of idea where I'm taking it, if that makes sense. It's a really good investment, by the way, for those who like to sketch or draw or even just create anything graphic related, or if you like coloring or designing. I think it's definitely worth the investment. So basically, I'm just drawing a very basic sketch of a wire bra with the cutouts. The black bits would be the parts that will be where the bra will be padded. And I just want to create a little diagram to show you where the wire attachment that is going to create the cutout effect for us is going to be placed on the wire bra. So where you see the base of the underwire, where it meets the cup, we will put a second wire that will create this shape that will help us to create the cutout. So like me just saying it, sometimes I feel like drawing it, gives people a better idea. So that's why I'm showing you this example. And then you're going to repeat it on the other side. So now that you've seen it drawn out, we're going to get into this tutorial. Okay, so to get the length of the attachments that we're going to place onto the cup, we're going to freestyle how high we want the attachment to be placed on each cup. So what I'm doing here is just measuring out where I want the bends of the attachment to be placed onto the cup. And the first measurement I got was 3 inches. Now I'm measuring 4 inches, which gives me 7 inches. So that's half the length of the attachment. So since we've only done one side. So we're going to take another 7 inches and add it to that 7, which is going to give us 14. Then we're going to take another 14 inches because we need another attachment for the other cup. And it's going to be equal to 28 inches. So what I'm doing here right now is marking out 28 inches for my wire. And I'm going to put all of this information in the description. So guys, don't worry about it. I know it can be a bit confusing, but I just want you guys to see how we add and how we multiply and whatnot. So just to make life easier, I'm just going to cut out the full measurement for both attachments, which is 28 inches. Right, so we found our 28-inch mark. Right, and now we're going to take our pliers and we are going to cut that point. So you can use a marker to mark it if you want. I'm just using my thumb because it's easier. Just going to clip the wire. And now we have our wire for both of our attachments. Now to make this into 2 pieces of wire, we're going to find our midpoint, which is 14 inches. Voila. And then we're going to take our marker or any type of pen, crayon, whatever you have available, and we're going to mark the midpoint at 14 inches. Now we are going to cut the midpoint, directly on the midpoint. And now we have our pieces of wire for both of attachments, 14 inches each. Right. So now what we have to do to find the midpoint of each attachment, we're just going to go to the middle at the 7-inch mark. And we're going to take our marker, or if you have a good eye, you can just eyeball it, but I like to use markers. I'm going to take the second wire as well and mark the 7-inch mark, the 7-inch point, and we will mark it. And there we have our midpoints. This is where we're going to bend to create the shape of the attachment. Now this is important, okay? Please pay attention to this because this is how you're going to make the shape. You're not going to bend on the mark. You're going to bend behind it. So what I'm doing is putting the pliers behind the mark, holding it firmly and pressing forward with my thumb and my fingers to create a V shape. Right, well, it's upside down V, but you get it. And what we're going to do is the same thing. I messed up and missed and wiped off the mark. Okay, there it is. So what we're going to do is the same thing that we did with the first piece of wire. We're going to bend at that midpoint to create a V shape for our attachments. We're going to use the pliers to help us bend, use our fingers to help us bend. We want to get a rounded V shape. If you can do a sharp V shape, that's good on you. I was only able to do a rounded one, but sometimes I know if you do it really well, you can get a very defined shape. And now that we have those shapes marked out, we're going to take a piece of wire and we're going to kind of bend it where we want our attachment to kind of start on the cup on each side. So like what I'm doing is where you see the V at the bottom, I'm aligning it with the top of the cup because I want them to be symmetrical. And I'm shaping my attachment wire so that it gives me the look that I'm aspiring to create, which is the cutout. So you can do this as low as you want. You can do this as high as you want. It still will create a cutout shape in the wire bra cup, but I want mine a bit higher, or at least in the middle point. And then I'm going to take the second wire and I'm going to match it to the first wire that we're playing around with. Once they're similar, I think we can start and we'll just kind of, play around with it as we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys two methods of how I attach the attachments, the wire attachments to the wire bra. This one is more like a freehand one because I don't necessarily know what my measurements are for the points where I want the attachment and the wire bra cup to meet. So first I'm going to take the bent part of the attachment and I'm going to attach it to the midpoint of the cup. I'm going to align it with the top of the cup, and once they're pretty aligned, then I will attach the strapping tape to it. It's going to be like a weird feeling, but once you practice it and, just have a firm grip with your other hand, you should be fine, because once you get a few wraps of the tape around the wires, it should start to secure itself, and then you can go back over it and retighten it. Like there's no like real rhyme or reason in regards to wrapping tape. So if you have 2 or 3 strips on deck and you feel like it's not secure, just go over it again. Or if you don't feel like it's secure at all, just cut it off with your scissors and start over again. But just keep in mind that you have to wrap it very tight if you want the wire attachment to stay on the bra. So basically here, what I am doing is kind of freeballing it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm not measuring anything. I'm just marking out where I see it's sitting on the wire bra frame. And what I'm going to do where I'm marking those dots, I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to bend it at that point. And then I'm going to secure the wires onto the base of the wire bra. Okay, so basically at this point, you can free ball it. It can be as high as the tip of the cup, or it could be as low as the base of the underwire. It really depends on you. I am just bending the wire where I'm the most comfortable and what gives me the most coverage in regards to wire bra, and still gives me that, sexy effect with the cutouts. So this is a little tricky because, there's no measurements or anything. Is literally what you want it to look like. This is where design comes into play. So now that I've bent where I've marked, I'm just gonna take it off screen and I'm going to attach the excess wire to the wire bra. But I'm going to show you on the other side how I did that. But I want to show you the other method in regards to how you would attach the attachments to create the effect, the cutout effect. Okay, so with this method, we want to make sure that the second attachment is as similar to the first one that's already attached to the bra. So what we are going to do is take actual measurements where the points meet on the attachment. So we will take those, mark them off, and then we will apply that attachment to the right side of the bra. So basically what I am doing here is measuring from one point where the attachment is attached to the cup down to the point where it is attached to the underwire, and then also on the other side. Okay, so now I am going to take the measurements that I got from the first attachment and I'm going to mark it onto the second one. So for the right side of this attachment, which was a little bit higher than the left side, I think I got about a little over 3 inches. And for the left side, I got almost close to 3 inches. So we're just gonna mark that off on this attachment, and we'll have our marks where we will bend the wire to then create the shape or the final shape of our attachment. Then we can place it onto our wire bra. So this is just like another way to do this if you go into it with a plan. Like if you're just freestyling, like if you're just making a bra for yourself, you can start out how we started out with the left cup, or you can go in with a plan and say, okay, I want this side to be 4 inches high, I want this side to be 3 inches high, and then you just bend it at that point and then attach it to the cup. And that is helpful. It is helpful to have measurements beforehand, but it's super helpful when you have a prototype or a costume prototype that you need to produce over and over and over again, especially when you're doing different sizes, so you can ratio like where you would put the attachment as the size goes up. So now that we've gotten our shape, because we've bent where we marked off, which is like looks like a M and an upside down W, whichever, we're going to now apply the attachment onto the wire bra, or at least match it up to our liking. And it looks pretty good. Looks super similar to the other side. If it's off a bit, we can make up for it when we start to pad the wire bra. Now, just have a bit of patience with this. It's a little hard to hold the wires together and tape them at the same time. So like if you're not comfortable like in the position that I'm in, you can turn it upside down. You can put it in your lap if that's easier for you to manage when you're trying to apply the tape onto the wires to keep them together. I usually just spin the wire bra around and just get as comfortable as possible where I can put as much strength into wrapping the tape around the wires. That's super important because you want to make sure this part is super stable, because you also have other parts that you have to tape down. And this is basically your foundation. You have to make sure that this is on securely. If you feel like one piece of tape isn't enough, you can use a second piece. If you feel like it's still kind of loose, like you'll be able to tell. You can cut it off and then you can start again. And so now after applying the attachment, see, I'm already getting a little frustrated. After applying the attachment, I can now try to make the wire as flush as possible to the cup. So what I'm doing is literally just lining it up with the cup. And then I'm going to take a piece of strapping tape and I'm going to wrap it in that same position as tightly and as securely as I can. Getting around in those grooves, in and out, inside, outside, around, as tight as I can. And sometimes after I wrap it, I will take a bit of hot glue and just secure it that way. Because sometimes the sweat glands on your fingers, your hands, will cause, the tape to not completely stay, or at least the end, the part that you touch most of the time. So using hot glue will help to secure it. So I'm just doing the other side as well. I know I'm using my hands a lot. It's just because I'm more comfortable that way. But if you are more comfortable using pliers to kind of create a flush line between the two wires, go ahead, because there's nothing wrong with that. That actually might be a better way to do it. But because this wire is so pliable, it's easier for me to do it with my hands. And I'm just wrapping it down, and then I'm coming back up a bit and going between the joints, just making it super secure. And like I said, if you need to put another piece of tape around there, do what you have to do. So now we have all this extra wire just sticking out here. And what we're going to do is curve it along the underwire to make it nice and neat. So when it's time for wrapping, we can get it all under the fabric and just nice and flush, as if it's all just one wire interconnected. Right. So now at times like this, I will use my pliers to make those little sharp bends. And then I'll just go in and use my hands to kind of like mend or pull the wires in together. I also find that the pliers helps a lot when dealing with the ends of the wire, because sometimes it's hard to touch, and it can help to bend it a lot better as well versus, your fingers and stuff like that, because it's a bit sharp. But like I said, you can just fool around with both. Use both and just find a healthy balance between both methods. There's no real science or like written instructions to say, oh, you must use your hands only, oh, you should only use wire. And then it also depends on your personal skill as well, like if you're really good with your hands, or if you need tools to kind of aid you when shaping certain materials. Okay, so now that we've done that side, we are going to the other side of the attachment, and we are going to get all of this extra wire down onto the underwire. So I'm using the pliers, I'm bending it, and with this you don't really need to mark it. You can pretty much see where you have to bend it. Like literally it's just following the lines of the wire bra. And with that, you want to just make sure that the pieces of the wire, like the endings, sit on top of the wire bra. You don't want it to sit under, because sometimes if it's not completely covered, or the tape hasn't fully covered the end or whatnot, sometimes the wire can stick into you, like it's a bit bothersome. So just try to keep that in mind when you are bending your wires. You want to make sure it's literally sitting on the top of the wire bra, not underneath, because it can pierce through fabric. So we're pretty much all done. We just have to add our anchors and curl the ends where we're going to put in our straps. But I want you guys to see that these cups, although they do look similar, they're not symmetrical. So I'm going to use my padding method to fix that. So what I usually do is I find out which cup is the biggest, and it's usually, for me, I don't know why it's always the right cup, but it's usually, for me with this style, it's always the right cup. So I'm just going to take the measurements of one cup, just one, and basically trace it out 4 times, and then cut that out and use that same sizing to cover both cups. That always seems to work for me. It's just the easiest way to make your wire bra as symmetrical as possible. So padding isn't just, for comfort, although that is, I think, is the most important part of it. It is also, your base for your gem work or whatever decorations you're going to use on it. But you can also use it to your advantage if you feel like your wire bra is not completely symmetrical. Okay, so the fabric that I'm using is called Scuba print. I found it at a local fabric store here in the Bahamas, but I'm pretty sure you can find it on Etsy or Mood Fabrics, or maybe even just your local your local fabric store. Just ask for Scuba fabric. It's usually a thicker, it's very, I wouldn't say very thick because it comes in different thicknesses or sizes, but because the one I'm using isn't super thick, but I do like using it because it's soft. It almost reminds me of bra padding, and then I like to double it because it's not crazy thick where I can't like use it on both sides of the bra. Like, it literally gives you a good base to put gems on the front, and then it gives you a good base for comfort. Like, it's soft enough, it doesn't shred easily, and it absorbs well. And that's another thing why I like it. But as you can see, I cut out all of the pieces. And what I'm going to do now is place them on the inside of the wire bra and also on the top of the wire bra. So just by adding glue along the shape of the cups and the cutout, it's just that easy. All you got to do is outline it, and the Scuba fabric will stick to the wire. Just press into it. You don't necessarily have to put your hands on the top where the glue is, because you will definitely burn yourself. But try to get the glue under the wire that's between the Scuba, and then just press it in and it will stick instantly. Give it a few minutes to dry, and then you can apply the other piece to the top. Okay, so now we've pretty much finished padding our bra. We're just picking off the little glue strands. And I'm looking at it as I've already like started cutting out fabric. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself at this point that I want to trim it a bit because it's a bit of excess scuba like overlapping. And for me, I don't personally like stuff like that. However, it's not a huge deal, but I like to make sure that my lines are a bit clean and I won't run into any issues like when I'm wrapping it with fabric. All right, so one side's done, then I just slightly trim around the side where I know it's not going to really make a huge deal in size, and clipping it to make it as neat as possible. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, so now I'm just, taking it off screen a bit and I'm going to start wrapping it. I'm not going to bore you guys with this part. If you want to see a new wrapping tutorial, just let me know in the comments below. I'll make a whole new video just centered around wrapping. I do use glue to wrap it, but there are a few other methods that you can use to wrap your wire bras if you don't want to use hot glue. So just let me know, but I'm not going to bore you guys with this part of it. Okay, so here's our finished cut out wire bra design. Isn't she amazing? And with this beauty, you can do a lot more. You can hang things from it like jewelry. You can easily attach a monokini bottom to it. Make yourself a wire kini. Your design options are endless. I do want to say that a lot of you have been asking for a size chart, and I am diligently working on it to make it perfect, as well as a PDF. So please stay tuned in the near future, like in the next 2 weeks, for that. But thanks again for tuning in. As always, leave me questions. You can email me, add me on Instagram, TikTok, whichever. Bye.